Well, hello and welcome back to another video. After the television video, the Pye, the last video that I did, thank you for the lovely comments on that. These old televisions do bring a lot of memories back for people, reminding them of their televisions or the parents' televisions or the grandparents' televisions, and that's why it's nice to keep some of this stuff alive. As I've always said many times, we can't live in the past and we have to look to the future, but without the past we can't have a future. So it's nice to look back at sometimes in life, and but thank you for the comments. That was lovely, and it was purely a bit of fun, that video. I just wanted to see the smallest amount of work I could do to that set to get a picture up on the tube, and if that was possible, and it was in that set. I shall now take that set further on and give it a good going over, and it wants a lot more capacitors replacing, and obviously, I would not run that set for any length of time like that, because it was very much just a trial in that video. Perhaps I didn't make that very clear at that time, but thank you. And while I was in the what I call here my little workshop, I thought it'd be nice to occasionally look. I'm not a radio collector. I don't collect an awful lot of vintage radios. I call myself more a restorer. I'm like looking at the history of them, trying to make them work again, and so I haven't got a vast collection of old radios, and I don't, I've never wanted a vast collection. I know some of you have, and some of you love collecting these old radios, and it's great. But I thought I'd do a little occasional series on videos on old valve radios that I like, and this is the first one. These will be well spread out. There perhaps won't be another one for many months, but I thought it might be interesting. If you're interested in looking for a valve radio, what do you buy? It's really what's available and what you like. The trouble with these, the DAC 90A, is they are medium and long wave sets, and obviously the medium wave is very hit and miss today. Our houses generate so much noise with our wireless routers, our computers, even my electric bike charger. If I put that on and charge the bike up in here, it totally wipes, it puts a horrible noise on the medium wave, and you can't listen to it. And I have a medium wave set quite close to where my computer is, and likewise that creates so much sort of white noise on the medium wave, it's hopeless. So I'll move the camera around and show you the first two sets that I've chosen that I really like. I'm not how sure you'll see these. I've got my big LED light on in here, and I'm not sure how that's going to react with the camera, because I don't use it very often when I'm filming televisions, because to see the picture you want it quite dim in here, but obviously to see these radios I thought we need a little bit more light, so hopefully that might be okay. So here we have two radios, and as I say, I'm not a great radio historian and know an awful lot about sets, but we have a Blaupunkt, a blue spot here, dating from 1954/55. I think the capacitors in this one were dated at 54. I think this was made in readiness for the VHF/FM service when that started in the UK, 1955, and I think that's just a touch later. This is a Telefunken, another German, both German, smallish table radios. But why I like these sets is because they have as I call it, VHF, or as we call it nowadays, FM. And FM was very slow to catch on in the UK for various reasons, and I could ramble on about that forever and a day, and I won't. Many reasons, from the fact that people had been used to big 1930s radios with a very sort of bassy, a big wooden radio with a nice big speaker in a wooden box, you know, and the AM broadcasting was quite good then. The AM band in the 30s, or the medium wave band as we call it, wasn't too cluttered, and you know, you got a nice boomy sound out of that, bassy sound out of those 30s sets. And the likes of my grandparents always thought FM was very tinny, you know, too high a tone for them. Obviously it's what we're used to now, but the service was very patchy here for years in the 60s. People often ask me, I've got loads, as you know, some people will know that I've got loads of old tape recordings that were done off radios, and you know, they say, well, you know, have you got one that was done off the VHF or the FM? And sadly, round here, and for a lot of other people, that wasn't an option. You know, the service was so poor. You know, you recorded off the medium or the long wave in those days, which wasn't brilliant by a long way. So yeah, I think these are still very useful sets when they've been restored. I paid the grandiose fee of £1 for this one. The auction, it was at a local auction. He couldn't get a bid on it. I didn't buy it at the time, but after the auction, this was it used to be in a club on an evening auction, and everything had to be cleared out this building, and I went afterwards and said, oh, you know, what about the Blaupunkt? And he said, oh, you can have it for £1, and I got it for £1. It was filthy dirty, it was very greased, it had been in like some sort of kitchen, I think, almost like a restaurant or some commercial kitchen, and it was thick with grease, and you know, I had to take it all to bits and wash it, take the front plastic out. So this is a plastic grill, and the wood came up, it's never been stripped, it's still original finish, the wood came back very nicely. And so I think these are very useful because they have FM on them still, and they are usable. They still get our, you know, main music stations in the fact of Radio 2, Radio 3, Radio 4, which is a lot of talk, I know, and then higher up. They don't go all the way up the spectrum of the FM band, like our local radio is broadcast on 104. These don't go up that high. I think this one goes a little bit higher, but this classic FM is the top limit to this one. It will pick classic FM up. They both will. They don't go a lot higher than that, because years ago it was only it's only in the 80s and on into the 90s that the FM band was, you know, introduced, and the spectrum was, you know, made, you know, fully to encompass right up to 108 in this country. So I've took my mic off, so hopefully you'll hear me. I placed it on the top of the radio. Just to show these work and how well they work. I mean, this one's come on, I've switched it on, and it's come on.
Then somebody invented this telescopic surgery
on Radio 4 FM.
With the guarantee that with a tiny incision you could remove organs without the big scar. And it was a huge surgical revolution, but you know, some surgeons picked it up on this sort of see one, do one, teach one basis and caused a lot of damage, cutting the ureter or cutting.
I mean, hopefully you'll hear, you know, that's a pretty good, you know, reproduction, considering this set is, as I say, 1954-55 vintage. We can't.
And I remember one
piece, is different from the previous one and contains the future in our handle to come.
And that's Radio 3. We can't really go down to Radio 2 because there'll be music and it will be copyrighted.
But not only extraordinary singer who can incarnate and color every word, every intention and emotion, and that's why I like her so much.
Well, that's a wonderful introduction. Great to talk to you, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us today, and let's hear another track from this beautiful new CD of yours.
I hope there you could hear, you know, as I say, these have great sound quality when they're restored and restored well and work really well. So in my view, not only attractive smallish set, but as I say, they are, you know, quite useful. And you know, I've got I've got quite a few of these in my collection. So I'm not a big collector, so I have a small collection, admittedly. But so I've got a couple of these in the house that you know I use, you know, quite regular, and I love them. I think they're such a great sound. It's the kind of it's such a good speaker, and it's the valve sound, as I say. When you get them restored right and well and working, and they are working on their own. They've got, you know, small wire aerials internally, and now the FM signal is so good, particularly where I live. You know, that's all you need, you know, to get really good, you know, reproduction out of them. So as I think they're a really worthwhile set. A lot of people sort of, you know, pass these by, and as I say, hence, you know, 20 odd years ago I picked this up for £1. I don't think I paid a lot more for that. I think that came from a little junky antique shop up in a road in our local town, and I think that was about £7 or £8. And there again, that was probably 20 odd years ago now. And if we switch that one off and
touch and get her. I know you can. I'll never love another. To that, I swear.
So there we go, just to show that works just as quite as well. Two cracking sets there that are really, you know, a very usable radio still. Obviously, unfortunately, how long I don't know, the FM broadcasting is going to go on in the UK. Eventually DAB radio is going to take over, and then sadly these will be, you know, just something a bit like the long and the medium wave sets that you can put on a shelf and say, well, that looks nice, and that was what we had in the, you know, 1950s and 60s. But you know, obviously, since the national programs went off the medium wave in the 1990s, apart from Radio 5 Live, that is, and you can still get Radio 4 on long wave. But then when the music stations went off, you know, and went on to FM, and FM coverage got better and better. Originally, FM coverage was really designed for more like radiograms and the hi-fi people of the day, and you needed a roof aerial the way it was broadcast. And it wasn't until we had a big drive in the early, well, the late 70s and early 80s, and they changed it to both horizontal and vertical polarization of how the FM signal was, you know, transmitted. That meant that a lot more portable radios and car radios could pick FM up. We had a lot more transmitters open up, a lot more local relay stations opened up. So the whole FM, you know, radio scene got so much better on into the 1980s, but it took until then. And when you think these were made in 1954 and had capabilities of picking up good quality, you know, FM like that, it's a shame really. But there we go. I'm rambling again. Two of my favourite radios.
A14? Damascus. Although you're right, the A14 is a cracking road. Now they've opened up the new dual carriageway bit.
Game changer.
All my games have changed, Rev. I'm a new man. I mean, you can probably see, can you? You know, be something about my aura. Probably looks, I'm not sure how my aura normally looks.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm not that familiar with it.
Well, better look different today, definitely. I'm living my best life, Rev. Plus, I'm earning, or I will be. You wait till Donna hears about it. It's working from home.
Dream.
That's it. Tell Donna if you see her.
Tell her what?
It's the dream.
You reckon she'll take you back if you're working from home? Does she like the thought of you sitting in your pants watching Homes Under the Hammer?
There's no pants involved, mate. I've had my eyes opened. That's another thing to tell Donna. I'm a new man. I'm standing on my own two.
So I'll come back into shot just to say, as always, thanks very much for watching. And if you have a favourite radio, a favourite, valve radio from the late 20s right through to the 1960s, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about what you like or what you use. Perhaps you use a valve radio every day still. I certainly do now and then anyway, certainly, and these ones with FM are brilliant. So as always, thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone that's subscribed. Please do think about subscribing if you haven't. It does help us, it does, so they tell me. As always, we'll be back with a future video talking about something else or doing something else very shortly. But until then, my best wishes, and bye for now.